All right, man. We're here with the great, the one and only Leo Mercer, right?
Yep.
Leo Mercer.
What's up,
We
man?
need to know a little bit about that name, man, because I thought it was your last name.
Nah, it's not.
So
It's not.
where'd you get that name from?
Well, Mercer. If you ever seen the movie Four Brothers?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's a movie got Mark Wahlberg, Tyrese Gibson, a bunch of famous dudes.
Okay.
Right. But the idea was some black kids, white kids from Detroit. They mama adopted them all. Her last name was Mercer. She treated them with a whole bunch of love. She ended up getting murdered. So they went on a mission to find who did that. So when I watched that movie, it was hella inspiring.
Yeah.
So I walked up to my folks and I was like, "Hey, I like that movie. What do y'all think about naming, what we got going on like that?" And it kind of just happened like that. It was more of a unanimous decision. Not all my folks was feeling it, but enough was feeling it for somebody to be like, "All right, that's what we doing now," and for people to just move along. So that happened. And then Leo, they will always call me a bully in middle school. I'm not the biggest dude, but I try my best to assert myself where it's needed.
Right.
So a lot of my friends, they call me a bully, and they connected that to my zodiac sign. So they'll always call me Leo.
Okay.
It stuck together, and after a while, people just start calling me Mercer or Leo. Then they just started calling me Leo Mercer, and it just kind of like flowed in like feng shui.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not one to deny whatever the energy is if it's meant to be. So I'm not gonna knock no name given to me as long as it's not disrespectful.
Right. Yeah, man. Where are you from?
Oakland.
Oakland.
Born, raised, gentrified.
Okay.
Came back. Had to
Cool.
put that part in there.
Yes, sir. Because and I think it's important to ask where you're from because you're very passionate about what you do, right? Because when we usually I tell people I have a podcast, they ask me who it is, right? And I'm like, okay, well, there's this guy named Leo. He's an artist, but he's also an activist, and he's somebody who's gonna always put his mindset before anything. So that's kind of why I wanted to tap in with your mindset because it's important what you're doing. You've done a lot of great things, such as like music in general. I think when you're able to write your own music, record your own music, it's powerful. So you're able to put that into the world. But you've actually taken actual steps, right? You have your own brand. You've spoken to a lot of great people, such as like for example Obama, Mr. Fab. Like they're countless.
Absolutely.
But what is like your overall goal right now? Like because I know you have a lot going on. But what is your main focus?
I think at this point it's just like kind of living life and taking the blows. I think as a survivalist, we kind of like live in a way to where sometimes that way that you got to live hurts people. And that's how I've lived a lot of my life. Just, poverty makes you do a lot of things. So now I'm in a place to where I could take everything I've learned from that particular way of living life and apply it to really positive things. Because that's not really who I want to be naturally. It's just what I've grown up kind of like having to assimilate to in my environment, if that makes sense. I'm not that dude that stand by the liquor store because this is just who I am. I'd rather do other things, but I'm not mad at the person that wants to do that because everybody lives their life differently. So it's basically just living life right now as far as a mindset and taking the blows how I need to take them, using them as lessons instead of framing everything into a failure mindset like the hood teaches you to do. Utilizing a lot of the things that I've learned as lessons to be able to move through my through my 30s and my 40s the right way.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
No, for sure. And, I think the concept is just changing the narrative, right? Because like you just said, like you grow up in the hood. Now there's a certain mindset you adapt through that, right? So what do you think the narrative is? And then like, why do you think it needs to be even changed?
Well, why it needs to be changed is because it's toxic. Okay. It's just very toxic to have the certain mindsets that we have in here. But the current narrative is kind of just something that is, I like to call it just sad because it's something I still tap into, but it's just a sad existence where you got, a lot of folks who don't really know themselves. So because they don't know themselves, the moment we start to wake up, there's a crab in a bucket mentality that doesn't allow folks to appreciate knowledge that might be greater than theirs. For me, specifically, a lot of times in my family, I say some stuff and my family would, they'd knock it for a long time until it became a situation to where I was right. And I don't hold that against them because I know that we live in a particular neighborhood where that's just in the air, but it's also something to take note of because that's just the community that we've been assimilated to have to live into. Right. Generations and generations of all this trauma that go on. I just was born smack dab in the middle of it. So, I just trying to hold space for everybody, but holding the most space for myself, because it's not like a lot of the things that I am talking about, even though I don't get the best responses from the community, it's not like I'm wrong, and it's not like it doesn't manifest itself after some time.
Right. No, for sure. Yeah, and I think that crabs in a buggy is so major because I believe that even if, like you said, if you're in that narrative, if you're in that situation, and even if you do try to get out, it's impossible because of the environment that you're in, right? Meaning like, okay, you start feeling a little bit, or I don't know if you've noticed, but you may start getting a little bit of success sometimes, and then the homie next to you who you thought, oh yeah, like they're gonna be hella happy for me because they want the best for me, all this and that, like all of a sudden start showing that little bit of like scarcity.
It's an energy battle because it's nothing somebody really has to say.
Right.
It's just like the energy that presents itself when you give someone good news and they're like, oh, that's dope. Yeah. You know that there's energy behind those words. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't feel, and then it that goes in your head. I'm telling you, I've been in and out of these rooms as in just like energy spaces to where it's like I'm overthinking whether one of my friends if they really fuck with me because of how they may have responded to my success.
Right.
Versus how if somebody pull up to me like they had a success, I'd be like, ooh, that's dope. Let me see it right now. Let me engage with you. Let me joy with you.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? Rarely do I get the response of folks joying with me in the same way that I might joy with them. But I don't hold it against them. I just know we all got our shit going on, and I just try my best to, energetically joy with the people I need to joy with.
Yes.
Shit.
And I'm pretty sure it's not the first time I've spoken on Crabs and Buggy on this podcast, but let me ask you, like, what is your solution to that, right? Because I think most of it comes from being fearful, right? Like, oh man, like Leo just got the biggest contract that I could even imagine that I could have got, so that means I can't get it. Or what do you think the solution is to that?
Well, I think the first thing is to acknowledge jealousy and acknowledge envy. We all have it. I do get jealous of some of my friends who might be having their successes happen before me or something like that, right? Once I stop myself from feeling that way, I can allow myself to really like receive the energy instead of push the energy. I think we need to have a lot more conversations around that so a lot more people can acknowledge that energy is happening so they can learn how to pocket it and, still be able to joy with a lot of our folks. Some folks don't even realize that they hating on people. They just doing it because that's just maybe perhaps a natural feeling for whatever they got going on. Because I could recognize that for myself too, right? But if if you can allow your emotional intelligence to let that just be an emotion, that in just a singular emotion, right? You can pocket that, and then you can truly be present for what someone has to say to you, versus think about it so selfishly that because it's not you experiencing that, you can't really feel it like that. That's just probably the way I've dealt with it in my time. So having a conversation around the crabs in the buckets thing would allow folks to see that it exists in a way to where they can see it within themselves so they can stop it and have the conversation with more people, kind of the word of mouth thing. I don't think there's a specific system that needs to happen. I don't feel like there's a random wave that's going to happen that's going to stop this. I feel like there's already things that happen to us, and we can only support each other through conversation, to mitigate some of these toxic things that we might go through with each other.
Yeah. And speaking of conversation, that's exactly what we're doing, right? You have to talk about these things because this is how they get resolved, right? Then you can post them on Instagram, then you can see them in the morning when you wake up, and then you can think on it and be like, yo, you know what? How can I incorporate this into my life? And then the world slowly, will get to a better place.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like you said, I don't think it's like a certain system. I don't think it's a certain person. I think it's more so just like a bunch of principles, right? Because, I've been tapping into a lot of like meditation and just like a bunch of just like natural ways to like get your mind right, because I know people, use psychedelics, or everyone kind of has their own thing they use, but I think meditation has been very powerful for me. I was even going to ask you, like, do you meditate? Do you know anything about meditation?
Yeah. Meditation, I used to always think about meditation as thinking about thinking about thinking about thinking So it's not really meditation if you use that frame of mind. But after, having counsel from folks who actually do it, they have allowed me to think about it a lot differently. And the way they've taught me is that it's just coming back to your breath. As humans, we're innate to make mistakes. We're innate to fail, but it's not the failure that we need to focus on. It's the bringing ourselves back from the failure that allows us to be great, right? In terms of like meditating and breathing, right? Not a lot of us breathe correctly or the way we supposed to breathe, right? For instance, it might be a time where I'm breathing, 16 breaths a minute or whatever, but then I don't notice that I'm holding my breath. I might be tense or something, but so I'm just holding it, and I don't notice that. And the idea around meditation is just to acknowledge that has happened and to bring yourself right back to the homeostasis of the state that you were in, because it's going to be a million times you mess your breath up and wham, but always come back. So now that I think about it like that, I kind of put that into perspective on a lot of the stuff that I do. If it gets too overwhelming, I just, kind of find a still area to bring myself back. When things are chaotic, find a still area, and that would allow me to gain enough capacity to go back into the things that I like to do. In particularly the chaotic world of Oakland, right? It's important to get out of it. Oakland is just a chaotic bubble. So it's important for people from Oakland or have experienced Oakland long enough to go somewhere for a little bit and heal a little bit. And then that might give them enough capacity to come back and do whatever work they need to do in Oakland. Speaking specifically for me, in the community organizing work that I do, it's snakes everywhere, right? We got youth and people that we need to help, but a lot of times the people that you're working with, they stay all for themselves, right? So for people that come in that want to do great work, they get halted. And it's easy to burn out because you see this and you're like, all right, well, let me see how I can strategically move around it when there really is no moving around it. There's really only get in it for a little bit, go heal for a little bit, then come back into it. You know what I mean? So meditation is great. It's great to that aspect. I can't see myself not doing too much meditation. And because I'm from the hood and sometimes we knock some of the things that we need to heal, I could meditate a little more. I find myself more inebriating than meditating sometimes. You know what I mean? Just being in space where everybody else is doing it. One of the things that I'm still seeking as far as my discipline is learning how to just like walk away from the crowd. I know I'm good at it in other aspects, but in terms of healing, I think we all sometimes misconstrue healing with escaping. So we think we healing because we drinking ourselves to oblivion. We think we healing because we smoking and passing out, but actually we're sedating ourselves, instead of actually going into a state of the actual healing. So it's really important to meditate by getting into environments like the nature. We got a lot of nature out here in the Bay, but I've done, I've taken a lot of trips with young folks who don't even know that this type of nature is out here for them. You know what I mean? Yeah, so they be like, oh, I ain't never knew that this existed. I'm like, bro, it's like so many parks out here.
In your backyard.
I was 17 and I didn't know half this shit existed until someone had to pull my ear into a canoe trip. And I'm like, man, niggas don't canoe. We don't do that shit. And she was like, nah, you doing it this time. So next thing you know, I'm on the water and I'm like, this is different. Like, this is the best type of silence that I've ever had.
Right.
Ever since then, I've been pulling young black kids, young colored kids up into the wilderness to get them to experience something that I didn't even know existed until I was 17, because I've been so submerged into the hood that you get assimilated and you don't know that shit else exists. Yeah. You get really one-dimensional and starting to think that this is the only bubble that exists. We are one little speck of the vast majority of the world that's out there. Tell that to kids that been in the hood like that, though. They gonna think that they little bubble's the only bubble in the hood. You feel me? So meditation is important, to my point.
No, yeah, and I love how you brought it back to nature, because you're right. It's like, it kind of just sparked an idea of like, yeah, why isn't it normal, for people from the hood or people of color to be like, you know what, today we're gonna go to this national park, or today we're gonna visit this park or whatever. Yeah, why do you think that is? Is it just like a culture thing? Is it like Just not enough exposure.
Yeah, I think it's a culture thing and it's a trauma thing. Shout out to brother Peace. He doing Hood to the Woods today. They out there in I don't know if it's Point Richmond or Oakland, but they're doing hikes just to that healing piece, right? But I don't know why. I think being in a hood, you get assimilated to a certain amount of things. You know, like a checklist of things that you're supposed to know in order to be able to be in this environment. Being in the wilderness or healing isn't one of those things. That's why you see a lot of our folks, they die really early. They have a low mortality age rate because being in a certain type of environment, you get taught, all right, these are the 20 things that you need to know to live in this environment, without being taught maybe in different retrospect the 100 things you need to go to do the marathon with it. A lot of times we just kind of like put our heads in, tunnel out, and then kill ourselves, and we didn't even know that there was a whole life outside of that. And I think a lot of our young folks in certain, not just the hood, but like in certain environments like the hood, they aren't told that there's an outside world.
Right.
You seen Attack on Titan? You ever seen that?
Dude, I'm so in culture when it comes to movies.
Bruh, he ain't seen it. Don't make me get up and walk out of this motherfucker.
Oh, okay. What is it called?
Attack on Titan.
Is it okay? It's an anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
But to the point, just a little over analysis on how that relates to the hood, right? You got a young character named Aaron who grew up in Shiganshina, right? And that's like the hood of a bubble of a hood, of a bigger bubble of a hood, where people can turn into big ass humanoids and crush humans, right? But the point is, they was young and they always talked about the sea as this foreign thing. We can go to the water right now, right? But the way that they talked about the sea is like they was talking about things outside of their hood, right? That made it to where they can experience different things only if they were able to see that. But Aaron would have never even thought about that if his partner Armin, when pulling up on him, giving him a bunch of books from the outside worlds. So we in the hood reading these textbooks from these docile ass teachers and shit that ain't doing nothing for us. And then I got like some of my folks who will give me like a certain book that I ain't never seen before. Like I don't know whether it was the Kama Sutra or the autobiography of Malcolm X, whatever it was. They weren't teaching it where I was being taught.
Right.
So it opened my perspective up. And the next thing you know, I'm trying to explore into these different perspectives, knowing that it's not really in my environment, and I would have to go outside of my environment in order to experience that. So I've done that a lot. And I've always been able to keep some aspects of not the hood, but just what it means to be from Oakland in me. Everywhere I go, people, without me ever having to say it, they know I'm from either California or from the Bay Area, from Oakland. And it's nothing that I gotta do, but besides just go out and be natural. Yeah. You feel me? But I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to leave the hood at the time that I did. Whether I was being gentrified or not, I'm happy that all of that happened because then it allowed me perspective. It allowed me to understand rock and roll music. I would have never got a taste of rock and roll music without leaving the hood. You feel what I'm saying? I would have never been able to understand clothes outside of what it means to have baggy shit on all the time if I never would have left the hood. I would have just kind of just been whatever that was, a little hood rat. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just I strive for more, right? And I feel like that's one dimension of my life, not the whole dimension of my life. I still got so much other shit to do, and that ain't got nothing to do with me being hood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I like what you said in the beginning. You said, go out, get out the hood for a little bit, just so you can understand that there's so much out there, right? Because you're right. It's like I always say, real oppression is when you don't know you're oppressed, right? So it's like if you don't know there's so much out there, yeah, you're a big fish in a small pond. Like that's as good as it's gonna get. But as soon as you step out into different cultures, like you said, you're gonna realize, like, hold on, this life is way more than one dimensional. This life is way more than just getting money, getting whatever's like popularized where you're from. There's so much more out there that you can like stimulate your mind with, Yeah. But I really like how we brought up meditation because you're an artist, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously your thing is music. So how would you say, or would you say that you can use music through to meditate? Because I know you kind of asked Obama the same question, and he didn't even answer, which was the crazy part. We could tap into him in a minute. But as far as music goes, do you think that that's meditation?
Yeah. and it all depends on what type of music you listen to. I honestly would say that my music ain't the music to meditate to, per se, right? But you know, like in the vast spectrum of music, there is a corner in there, right, where you can blend hip hop with, you know, whatever that may mean. You know, so yes, absolutely. If you can find a pocket, my friend always talk about a certain level of hertz that you gotta listen, your frequency's gotta be at. My boy 369, I listen to him kind of like, you know, blindly, faintly, because I don't really understand it yet. But from the stuff that I do get from him, right, he's really into frequencies. And when you talk about music, there's certain frequencies that allow people to listen even when they don't know that they're listening. You know, I ain't tapped in too much to that yet. Yeah. But I'm listening enough to know that eventually that's going to become a focal point in my life. Right now, I'm just trying my best to be expressive, you know? So a lot of my music is more just like, I don't know, smash mouth, if you will, you know? Just kind of like saying what I need to say over some beats and, you know, let that be that. And there is intention there, but I wouldn't say it's so extremely intentional that, you know, somebody go listen to my song and, you know, they're meditating, unless that pocket fits them. Because people have come up to me and said that my music can be. I don't personally think so, but for that particular person in this particular situation in that particular world, absolutely, you know. But I'm not intentional about that being the case with my music. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, because I think the way I see meditation is just like coming back home, you know. And I think there's multiple ways to do it. You can, like you said, breathing techniques. There's certain frequencies. Because I know I go on YouTube sometimes and search up like meditation music, and it'll search up, like you said, there's like 720 hertz or whatever. But let's tap into that question, because man, when I showed my boy, I was like, yeah, like look at this video, bro. And I think it was a great question that you asked, but the thing is, Obama didn't even answer the main question, and I think it was purposeful that he didn't answer it, in my opinion. And then two, I think I like that he didn't answer it because it just leaves a big question mark. You know? Yeah. Do you remember the question you asked him?
Faintly. I think I asked him, like, what does music have to, how can music relate to like liberation, policy change, social change, and all the other things that I was trying to do, right? Because at the time I was trying to become intentional about my music. It was hard, but you know, the lost element is it's like blind intention. It's like, I know what I want to say, I just don't know how I want to say it. I know I got the download, I just don't know how to upload it to y'all. I see. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. So when I asked him that question, politicians go be politicians. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know, a politician go jump around the question, especially if it's a question that they don't know the answer to or cannot answer.
That's the problem.
I don't think that it was a situation that he couldn't answer.
Right.
I just thought it was. I think for me, it was a provoking question that he was blindsided by. So what he did is he answered it the best way he could without giving me a concrete answer. And to your point, he opened a big discussion, you know, of how we can allow music to do that for ourselves. Right. Because just me asking him opened up a big ass fishbowl. Yeah. You know? Exactly. So I'm allowed to have that in a lot of my lesson plans now. A lot of my curriculum has that clip, so I can, you know, provide conversation to a lot of young, impressionable young people that can allow. School's a whole nother thing, right? Right. But yeah. The question is just me kind of spitballing at what it would mean for music to be positive and still can be monetized and still can be looked at as something that's popular, not corny and shit like that. Right. So he half answered it, and his half answer was an answer, but I would have appreciated if that would have came with more opportunities at least. Yeah. You know, because I be looking at his every year he releases this little thing, my 25 of my greatest songs. I ain't on none of them lists. And I ain't mad, but you know, I'm like, he must have just took my album when I gave it to him. Yeah. Cause he got it. Right. Cause I gave it to him. He must have put it in his pocket or gave it to one of his security. I don't know what the hell he did to that thing. But I think in retrospect, when he hears these stories, me and him gonna have that conversation. Yeah. And I'm like, remember when I gave you that album on stage in front of all them people? The little black cat with the hoodie on, with the hoodie with the blazer on, and when I was yeah. So I feel like that was a great moment, even though it wasn't the moment I expected. Right. And I feel like I still chisel and push the move the chains on what that means anyway. So in a world where nobody's responding to that question, I still am. So I ain't worried about it. You know, I'm gonna continue to do the music until I'm given a better platform. This type of music that I'm doing right now is kind of the catalyst. I got everybody in the town that's in my peer group right now kind of following that wave, whether they want to or not. You feel what I'm saying? Whether they like me or not. You know what I mean? It's a wave that's undeniable because it's so needed. You know what I mean? We're so hungry for healing. It ain't funny. You know? And sometimes we go down certain paths and we mess up in terms of healing. We might call it escapism. We might call it alcoholism. We might call it all these other things, but we just trying to heal. We just don't know exactly how to do it. So in my particular terms, if I know I can't lead a fucking renaissance or a rebellion, my music is my only way. I'm going to make music that helps me express these things. You know, I get called radical a lot, but ain't shit radical about wanting to heal. You feel what I'm saying? It's like, it's something that is necessary so we can sustain life for longer, you know, just kind of like, it's biology.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? But today's world, you know, it's kind of more microwave than that. So, you know, I think it benefits the playmakers of the world for people to be blind, for people to be stupid. That just ain't gonna be me.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
No, I completely agree. Because I think it goes down to our basic needs, right? Like you said, like for one, nature, like we're connected to nature in some way. I think everyone can agree with that. So it's important for us to go, you know, once or twice, go on a hike or go outside, you know, go touch some grass, touch the dirt, you know, something. And then like you said, man, this shit is so far deep systemic. It's not even funny. Like from the food that we eat, from the propaganda that's put in front of us, from where we live, from the air we breathe, from literally there's so many like, and I think it makes me excited in the sense of like, man, there's so many things that needs to, you know, get worked on that like you said, man, my pen is my sword type thing, right? Like I'm going to write
on some jizza. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that show came out and I got like 10 calls talking about, bro, you remind me of RZA. I'm like, bro. Like, if you only knew how many people said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Liquid Swords. And they got an episode out recent, and that's going on right now. And I'm so glad that people are able to correlate whatever that is to whatever I've been going on. I mean, whatever I've been having going on out here in Oakland. Because truth be told, Wu-Tang is a real big blueprint for a lot of what we be trying to do is like young rap groups or young whatever groups, right? Take a group of all of our homies, you know, who got certain skills or whatnot, and create a conglomerate out of it, you know? And for as much as Wu-Tang looks like a success story on Hulu, you know, trials and tribulations occurred. Right. And I could be the first to say that, man, that is a tough thing that RZA probably didn't have to deal with in trying to pull people together who don't really like each other, who might have differences of culture, differences of opinion, and they can't allow them to really like blend it together and stuff like that. The Mercer has had some trials and tribulations like that. You know, expanding to different groups out here in Oakland because everybody rap, even if they don't, they do. You know what I mean? Tried to be in what would you call it, coalition with some other groups, but you know, it's too many stupid ass factors that would allow that will not allow for the collaboration that's necessary for liberation to truly happen. You know, this nigga don't like that nigga. That motherfucker don't like this. And it's just like, you know, and I'm guilty to some of it too. You know, because sometimes stuff happens and I don't like you because of that. And I want to address that to you, but if it ain't gonna be addressed in the appropriate way, then we just not gonna talk. I get it. I get the energy. You feel what I'm saying? And eventually that shit has to cease, right? It's a lot of people that I know that I'm beefing with that I'm probably gonna have to sit down and talk to eventually. You know what I mean? Yeah. They may not want to talk to me, or I may not want to talk to them. But that's the whole thing around restorative justice. I know that's a hot word right now, restorative justice. Yeah. You know, it was called a lot of other shit back in the days. But just in the terms of everybody understanding what that is, it's like, you know, sitting to like mediation, you know? And I feel like I'm a great mediator. But there's only certain things you can say to certain people when certain things have happened. If somebody shot at you or something like that, ain't no talking. You know, like, you know, right. You know, so how do you mediate these certain things? How do you mediate a lot of the trauma in the community, knowing that there's a sensitive threshold on what trauma is really considered to be nowadays? a drop of a hat type trauma or this person got raped type of trauma. It's all a sin is a sin now. So we can't. It's really hard to have a discussion around how to be in solidarity with each other without going down the oppression Olympics first. You feel what I'm saying? So I say all that to say that me being a poor person and having the opportunity to talk to somebody like Obama, right? People like to tell me that I stuck my chest out at them too much. That's a lot of my feedback was from my peers.
Based on the video, it just looked like you went up there to, like, you knew what you were asking. You know, I don't think you were to assert. If anything, I think the way he basically diluted the question was the way, like, maybe, but no, I think you did your thing, because at the end of the day, like, you have to ask front forward questions to these guys, because if not, they'll do exactly that. They'll grab that one word that you know, kind of were iffy about and elaborate on that. And
I'll be damned. They did it. You know, after I asked that question, a whole bunch of tabloids from iHeartRadio and shit talking about young rapper asks president uncomfortable question. And I'm just like, bruh, what? What are y'all talking about?
yeah. It's just, I don't know about that one, but I think it was a very good question, because, like you just said, Obama comes out with his own 25 or top 25 list, meaning I'm sure he's getting some sort of inspiration through that, some sort of motivation, some sort of healing, you know. And I think and I think that's the music that me personally I relate to. I think, like you said, there's different spectrums of music. There's like entertainment, there's like music you can relate to. You know, you got Pac, you got, like, you know, maybe like Nipsey, Jay, these guys that, you know, you can really relate to if you're on the hustle. But man, so I seen one of your projects. It was the Ego project, right? And what did Ego stand for?
The emotional guard of oppression.
Okay.
So, the ego gets a bad rap. It's like one of those hot words today that describes someone who's probably a narcissist or someone who's all about themselves. And that can very well be true. But let me tell you, man, like, ego has saved me more times than not. My ego has saved my life more times than not, in situations where I could have very well just, like, went with the flow and been a beta, whatever.
Do you have an example of that?
School.
Okay.
My ego has allowed me to soak up knowledge that wasn't from the typical school thing. Like, it allowed me to open my mind, right? Versus having some weird ass notion of, like, whatever was taught to me first was the only thing that needed to be taught to me. I didn't learn about Mansa Musa until out of high school. I was like 19, learned it from a cop. You feel what I'm saying? Like, weird ass circumstances to learn who Mansa Musa is, right? But I'm like, if I would have knew who Mansa Musa was when I was 5, bro, I'd be so powerful right now. And just for the people out here, if you don't know who Mansa Musa is, he's an African person who he inflated countries with his currency. He's said to be one of the richest men ever, and that's on top of Bill Gates and Bezos and all them niggas. Damn. So he's dead now, but his gold currency used to inflate whole countries. Now, why would you not tell me that when I'm 5 years old and wait till I'm 17 to 18 to give me that information? You know what I mean? It really makes me think about a lot. So in ego, right, the emotional guard of oppression, right, I'm guarding myself from oppressive things at this point in an emotional standpoint, because I don't exactly know what I'm doing. It's like practicing karate. You know the moves and shit, right, but you ain't really up on the moves like Bruce Lee. Right. But you still are willing to fight. You know what I mean? So blind fighting, however you want to call it, it's an emotional guard of my own, you know, willingness to get out of the oppressive state that I'm in. I see. You feel what I'm saying? So, and then a lot of my folks, as far as the album cover goes, which a lot of people love and a lot of people hate.
Yeah, your artwork is great. Yeah.
You know, like, it's really got some mixed reviews. Like people like, oh, that's saucy. And then some of my other folks, because they might be Israelites or Islam or whatever the case may be, I don't know, whatever, right? They see that as some type of blasphemy. And I don't give a damn. You feel what I'm saying? Right. Because at the end of the day, I grew up in this whole Christianity type situation and shit like that, and it ain't show me nothing that I can use to help really liberate myself. Y'all telling me to believe in something I've never saw. You feel what I'm saying? Y'all telling me to listen to people who don't give me no type of value in my life, you feel me? Be a pawn for the rest of your life and don't see no value in yourself. But you know, I mean, as long as you do that, then you're gonna get rewarded by the time you die. Like, man, look, hey, at the end of the day, I feel like everything that I can do, I've done, and I can do more. But in order to really think that way, you have to think of yourself as that. You know, and this is no knock to Christianity and a higher power. But you're gonna have to think that you God so you can put God play into play. Otherwise, you know, you praying, wishing that this sandwich can be made, just expecting it to be made, and it ain't just about to magically float and be made.
Right.
You gotta put in that work. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So however people want to see that as like God taking out of, I don't care, right? That's how I grew up looking at it. That's not necessarily how I see it now because I've had the opportunity to see so much other perspectives that's only one slice of perspective out of my life now is, you know, the Christian Baptist thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That ego has allowed me, at least as an album, to express all those things. Yeah. I got a song called All Fate on there, right? And, you know, the church folks won't like it. You know what I mean? But it's not for them. You know what I mean? And I basically say, I don't pray, you know, all fate. You know, every day I wake up, I can go and get a plate, you know, and just basically like letting my audience know that you can't just, you know, expect things to be done and not put in the work for yourself to do that, you know? And as far as my experience goes, that's what a lot of people who pray do. They do it for hope when there's no hope. You know, they don't actually put in the work to get themselves out of whatever hopeless situation that they're in. And I refuse. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm a Panther baby. You know, I got Panther ties. It just ain't in me to be defeated like that. You know, like you got to blind. If you're going to get me, you got to blindside me. I'm not just about to walk into the pit, though. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that was deep. Man, I'm going to rewatch this clip that you just said because there was something in there. I was like, hold on, you just got me thinking. Nah, for real. And I love these conversations because, like you said, man, like if there's anyone who's gonna do anything about this depression, it has to come from the ground up. It has to be somebody who can really feel these things, somebody who's been through this. Because there's a bunch of, like we said, politicians, all this stuff that literally get bought out. Like, you know, as long as they get their, you know, extra couple $100,000 every year or that trip or that car, you know, they're gonna be chilling. They don't care about everyone else.
Yeah.
But I think this is why, you know, I think podcasting is so important, you know, just a little bit off the record, but like, yeah, I think it's very important because it allows us to have these type of conversations. Because if it's not podcasting, it's news, and everything in the news is already like watered down. It's already like, you know, they already have a mission with what they're going with. But here it's like we're literally just bringing up topics and saying our perspectives, you know, and opening up minds. And I think that's the most important thing is how many minds out there can we open and how much information can we expose?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the important thing about, you know, podcasts like this, you know. The idea that, you know, you can really take your microscope and zoom in to a certain region. And you can see the same things that the mainstream folks try to show you every day. I tell people all the time, for every celebrity that you see in the world, we got one of those in Oakland. We got a Bernie Mac in Oakland. We got a Cat Williams in Oakland. We got a Ronaldinho in Oakland. We got everybody you could think of. They in Oakland. We got Harriet Tubman in Oakland. Like, we got all these energies and all these that you would see on celebrity television. Mm-hmm. We have all of those. They just not as famous. You feel me? A lot of people like to call me Kanye West. I don't agree. I don't agree. You know what I'm saying?
I can see the correlation.
You know what I'm saying? But they be like, you too into yourself. Yeah. Whatever. I don't know what to tell you about that. I do love myself, right? But not at the expense of y'all. So I don't see how I'm, you know. So, you know, but a lot of people, they go through their things, and a lot of times when misery loves company, they can't see people be better than them. And that's another thing that the ego has allowed me to kind of like open the conversation to, is that we're all the same. I'm great right now. There's people that are greater than me, and there's people that's about to be just as great as I am, and all of it counts. But there are certain people that cannot allow you to be better than them.
Yeah.
But you ain't shit. So if you ain't shit, how can I'm going to eventually have to pass you up. And I cannot have you hating on me just because I got right here. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I need the support, even if it means that I pass you. Because it's a lot of situations to where some of my peers have passed me up. I am so proud to say that I've never allowed that to fuck with my head so much that I'm pulling them down. You know, my one of my boys in 2014, we both rapping in Team Backpack. I don't know if you know what that is. Team Backpack. It's like it's like this big rap conglomerate. It died some time ago.
Oh, okay.
But they used to hold auditions where open micers can come to LA or New York and they spit their 16, and if they like your 16 enough, they'll bring you and put you on a big old cypher where you can meet the likes of some underground goats.
Okay.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's cool.
So I'm auditioning and I got 3 other my partners auditioning. You feel what I'm saying? Like a whole little Mercer squad went up there to audition, right? Mm-hmm. And by the end of it, they end up picking my partner. And I'm like, that's great. Like, you win, we win.
Right.
You know? After some debating and, you know, pontificating about it, I realized that my partner, he rap too gangster, right? I may not rap as gangster as him, but I'm probably not the audience that they're looking for.
Right.
You know, I'm probably too conscious for him or whatever fuck, right? And then my boy, he one of them anime rappers. So every punchline got to do with a PlayStation or an Xbox or a game. Ain't nothing wrong with it, right? Right. I ain't roast. Look. But they gravitated towards that, right? So when they said the top 8 and they got down to the last 3 or 4, me and my partners looking at each other like, some of us losing, some of us winning. Yeah. And then when it came down to the 1, we like, oh, only one of us getting in. And then when it came to him, bro, me and my partner, we looked at each other, right? Because this nigga is like the corniest rapper of them. You know, like, bro, he don't rap like we rap. Right. You feel me? But he won? Yeah. But I'm like, he won, we won. My other partner, he wasn't having that shit. He was like, man, this some bullshit. Yeah. He left. But in conversation, I was just like, damn, bro, ego really like sometimes doesn't allow you to, you know, joy with people. But then at the same time, you know, like, I feel like we have to understand how to give some people moments as well. Just because you're the best at what you do don't mean that you can allow other people to be the best as well and potentially pass you up. I want my daughter to pass me. I want my folks to. I love the healthy competition. It's just when it becomes unhealthy or not in a safe environment is when it gets fucked up. Battle rap is dope, but why is it so dope? Because it's in an environment where ain't nobody about to get shot. You can talk your shit though. Go to the hood where actual rap battles is happening though. It's like a dice game. Yeah. Niggas is getting hit. Say the wrong thing, you go get hit. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm pretty sure that ego exists for everybody, but we shouldn't count out ego as this negative narcissistic thing that men have when they're toxic in their masculinity and shit. Women got it too, right? Like, but it's important to have it in cases where it feels life or death, when your back is against the wall, where you feel like you need to say something even if your voice shakes, even if you're alone in saying it. Your ego will allow you to say that. I don't know what else will, right? But for me, when I feel like I needed to say something, I'm scared to say it, and I still need, like my ego has allowed those powers to manifest for me. So that album was really important for me, just off that note of allowing my ego to move me throughout life in very scary moments. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that you, for example, artists like you create these albums, because exactly that, it changes the narrative on one word, because you hear the word ego and exactly you usually tie it up to narcissism, I'm better than you, all that stuff, which, like you said, it might be the case, but I think for the most part, if you know how to, and if you're educated and people talk about the ego the right way, then people are able to see how it's useful. You know, because I was having this conversation with somebody where I was like, man, like, I definitely want to, you know, go back and like, quote unquote, like heal my childhood, right? And what I noticed, especially doing this podcast and studying a lot of successful people, is they may not have had the greatest childhood, but that's where they were created. So it's like a lot of my fears is like, man, if I go and heal these parts of me, like, am I still gonna be as ambitious? Because me not having nothing, me going through all this pain, me going through all this trauma,
that hunger got you where you was at.
Exactly. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah. And I want to talk about it too, because you also made another project where it's Leo, introvert or extrovert.
Introverted extrovert.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I like that because I kind of feel like that's me. Like, I love talking to people. I'll do this all day, but I just really love my time. Like, you know.
I'm gonna send you this thing. It's called 16 Personalities. It's a quiz. And if you answer all of the questions, they'll let you know based off of the stuff if you are introvert or extrovert or anywhere in between.
Okay.
When I was in high school, I took that.
Yeah.
You know, and I've thought about that as far as like how I move throughout the world. So I've been an extrovert for most of my life, but I've also been an introvert in some ways. I think now I'm more of an introvert because I hold my thoughts to myself. But before we even get into that, it's important to understand what the hell all that is,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So so it's like a way of being, a set of behaviors tied to a scientist one day said, if you got these certain behaviors, then you're an extrovert. You got these certain, so using that scale, right? An extrovert is a very open and enthusiastic person. That person is always out there, always doing something, always hella loud, right? And you got your introverts, right, who are very strategic. They always hold thoughts in their mind. Rarely do they express themselves, but they always got something going on. So I feel like I've had both of those at certain points of times, and what that is called is an omnivert. If you think about a microphone being omnipresent, then it's coming from all sides. An omnivert embodies the characteristics of all of them. But the thing about being an omnivert is you don't got all that 100%. So it may be one time where you going down the spectrum of introvertism more than it's like a spectrum.
Right.
So in that spectrum, I know that I've been extremely extroverted at times, even in times where I perform. It's just like I don't want to do it, but I gotta do it. So I'm gonna do it. Tired, I'm gonna do it. And then more recently, just like being more strategic with it. But for instance, I don't even know how to dance. Keep it a bean. I don't. Why do I perform so much? You feel what I'm saying? I think it's because when it's times where I got to. And if I had to learn how to dance, I'd do it. Because that's just what, it's just the extrovert in me. I haven't had to learn, right? Because there's so many other elements that you can bring into hip hop besides the dancing. It's important, but it ain't so important that you can't get your point across without dancing, and stuff like that. But I feel like, lost my train of thought.
That's all good.
It's okay.
We were talking about the project, just introvert, extrovert, because I think that is important, right? Because I think it's just important to know yourself and like who you are. Because like you said, man, even though you're an introvert, it doesn't mean that your opinion doesn't matter. It's just that you may not be 100% comfortable with expressing yourself, and that's completely fine too. You just got to find a way to do it.
Yeah. So that album helped me explore all the ways that I might be extroverted and all the ways that I might be introverted.
Yeah.
And I think each song is an example without being both, right? Like I think there's certain songs, like there's no one song on that album that is extroverted but a little bit introverted, or introverted but a little bit extroverted. I try the best to like separate them. So then I have a song like Moving Like Tupac, which I actually just did a video to, and it basically talks about how I move around the world mad at everybody but still appearing like hella happy, kissing babies, shaking hands, but I got hella animosity in me, so in times where people don't feel that energy, right? It's more just, you ever seen a dude try to holler at a girl and then she be like, I'm not interested. And then they be like, fuck you then, bitch.
Yeah.
I got that energy in me, but it's not to that. It's to like the world when they don't want to fuck with me. Like, you don't want to fuck with me? Like, all this positivity, well, fuck you then. You feel what I'm saying? And, I'm not too proud of it,
right.
But it is what it is. It's one of the vices that I know I got about myself that, sometimes I smack a motherfucker over the head with a Bible. You know what I mean? Like, it's the oxymoronic part about being positive, but also knowing that sometimes you got to shove that shit down their throat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. I definitely feel like everyone kind of has their own way to, like you said, express themselves, right? And as long as you're not hurting nobody too much, right? That's the thing. Like, I think truth hurts sometimes, right? Especially like when we dive into it, dive into like what's actually going on. But no, that kind of drift away from that. I just wanted to ask you because I think it's important, who we tap into on a daily basis, because whether that's good or bad, it's shaping our future. Yeah. And good or bad could be subjective, but who do you kind of like tap into? Who do you modulate like your mindset behind?
The thing about it is, I don't do it specifically to nobody, right? But if I had to go in any particular direction, I go in the direction of Tupac, Malcolm X, Huey Newton.
Is there something that like specifically has stood out, whether it's like a quote, a movement, a song they've done that really like is Leo? Like,
or do you mean a song that they done that really resonates with me?
Yeah.
I say more of a quote or more quotes, right?
Okay.
Like there's this quote from Tupac that talks about sparking the change in the world. Like I may not be the spark that changes the world, but I'm gonna make sure that the spark that's listening to me go change the world. You know what I mean? That quote was really dope for me, and I think has kind of propelled me into the moves that I'm moving now. If it ain't me, then it's whoever gonna be behind me because they knew me. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. I think there's something that Nina Simone will always say that really stuck with me when it talks about how to use music. Music is just a reflection of our times. You know what I mean? So a lot of people who make music, it gets a lot of criticism, but it's a reflection of what's going on at the moment. So if a motherfucker got enough nerve to put it on wax, that means that it might be happening. And there has to be more conversations about it. So she really brought that to light for me. Malcolm X would always say, a revolutionary man is a doomed man. And of course, that's a very cynical, pessimistic statement.
Yeah, this is pretty heavy.
But in the essence of it being true, you can see why most people don't want to fight anymore.
Right.
There's not a lot of fighters out here. And that brings me to a quote. So it's a song called "Mortal Man" by Kendrick Lamar, and he has a conversation with Tupac. And then he asked Tupac, he said, he asked him some question, right? But then Tupac answers by saying, ain't no loudmouth 30-year-olds no more. You feel what I'm saying? Like so the best time to use your strength years is when you a teenager, when you want to hit somebody back, when you want to talk shit. Because by the time you get 30, the world didn't press you so much, you become a little docile. I felt, and that is what, for me, that is what caused a lot of my introversion. Right? Being out there, doing my thing, being hella extroverted and not getting the best responses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish I could have a Justin Bieber effect. Just walk up and do whatever the fuck I want to do, and niggas like, oh, that's just Justin Bieber. Nah, I don't get that. If I raise my hand like this, I'm going to jail for domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? So with that amount of scrutiny on me, it's put me into this state of, okay, I gotta strategically figure out how to give my messages so they don't fucking castrate me. You know what I mean? Because if I give them too much, right? Then they hang me for being who I am. I've seen it happen to many, many celebrities. You name one, then they got castrated later for some shit that they said some time ago. And all we just trying to do is be ourselves. You know what I mean? But whatever we grew up understanding becomes whatever ourselves is. So for me, being in the hood, there's a lot of things that I suffer with. The things around pimping, around selling drugs, around robbing people, around all these things that if you're in the hood, you gotta engage in order to survive. So, I don't know what I was saying I had to say, but just like more in retrospect, just utilizing my music. Oh, that's what I was saying. I was saying a lot of my experiences in trying to be an extrovert has, because I haven't had the right responses, or at least the responses that I feel like I naturally need, it's put me into a state of introversion, which means, all right, before I say the next thing, I got to think about it. I got to be strategic with it. I got to make sure it hit. So I can't just exhaust myself exporting all the time. I got to wait, build my shit up before I can export it out so it can have a greater impact. You know what I mean? In the 20s, we just out here rambling, doing what we do, wham. Now I'm 31. I'm trying to move a little strategic, but I still appreciate that part about myself. And if I can let go of a lot of those things that would allow me to be more extroverted again, I would. You know what I mean? Because I could see the power in being a true positive extrovert. You know what I mean? We just don't live in a world where it's going to be received in the greatest ways. So how can you be as much of an extrovert as you can be without saying something that'll get you canceled or some shit like that? You know what I mean? There's a lot of communities that I love, and I also am willing to talk shit to you too, because what you gonna do? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you cancel it, the consensus around being a black man is already, you scared enough to cancel me if I just lift my hand up too high. So at the end of the day, as long as I'm not hurting nobody, I'm pretty much gonna say what the fuck I want to say. And I know I'm not hurting nobody by saying these things, but because I care about people, I don't want to say it all the time because I don't want the whole world mad at me. And as a human, I know that I can't, I can't be against the world so much that I'm like, I'm gonna just say what the fuck I want to say and fuck all of y'all. No, I gotta care sometimes.
Yeah.
So, I can't talk about pimping all the time without making my ladies upset. I know there's a notion right now where in celebritism where it's popularized to talk about pimping and how you go treat a bitch bad and shit like that. But if you want to ask me personally, that's not my MO. I don't like treating women bad. I just know we live in an environment where you got to play that game. You feel what I'm saying? And if you don't play that game, you go get hit. You go get played. So what you gonna do? You go eat or be eaten. Let me go ahead and play this game.
Jeez.
You feel what I'm saying? And that can be the same for a lot of other things too. Like for people who folks have died from cancer, certain things you can't say. You can't call certain people retarded. Like it's so many things that will really offend somebody. But for me, right, somebody who has experienced a lot of that, I've learned that if you didn't know nothing about none of that and it had nothing to do with that, you can't hold that for them. Right? So if you say something like if you say that's gay and a gay person don't like that and they know I didn't mean it that way, I'm not about to spend time trying to apologize to this nigga and he about to cancel me anyway. You feel what I'm saying? I'm gonna say what the fuck I want to say, and then we can have once we're cool enough, we can have a conversation and then potentially I'll stop because I can respect you enough to know that we can have a conversation, not you go jump down my throat about it. Right. You feel what I'm saying? But yes, I feel it. So I have to find a different balance between introvertism and extrovertism to where I can say the things I want to say without being ridiculed, but also not say it so much that I become an asshole to people. Yeah. I could be an asshole real quick. That's just that was feedback from other people to me. I could be an asshole.
I could definitely see, not that you're an asshole, but more so why people can. Because I just think it's like anytime you go against the grain, anytime you really stand on yours and it's not popular, it's, they're going to already look at you some type of way.
Yeah. But
at the end of the day, I think it's knowing who you are, knowing who, what mission you're on, what message you're sending out there. I think that's why you're able to sleep at night, right? Because if you were doing all this bullshit and actually was being an asshole, I don't know if you would be able to meditate and, be so healing, because like these conversations are healing, obviously us, but it's also hopefully healing whoever listens to this, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, because that brings me to my next question is like, obviously this show is called Neighborhood Heroes, and my whole idea is to bring on different perspective, different minds, So what is your definition of a neighborhood hero?
Oh shit, I feel like just off the name, I embody it. You know what I mean? When you're from a particular neighborhood and you go through the trials and tribulations of whatever that neighborhood gives to you, and you're able to persevere through that, and you're able to tell the story, and you're able to show your successes even when that was the case. Our heroes, the people that I consider heroes, have went through shit first. The people that I consider heroes were students before they were leaders. You feel what I'm saying? So for me, being a hero ain't just the hero's arc. Mm-hmm. It's everything in between. It's actually a lot of the beginning of it. You know what I mean? Not the results. It's a lot of what happened to get this person to this area, and what compelled them to not take the negative route and take the positive route, even though that was the case. So, I think about Magneto a lot, right? From X-Men, or something like that. Like once they told his story, it made me think about villains a lot. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like he's some Russian dude who used to work at the steel mill, and he had his family, and he had these powers. But then something happened where some dude almost dies, and he uses his powers to save this cat. But instead of them fucking thanking him, you feel what I'm saying? They investigate him, and in that investigation, end up killing his family. I would be a villain too. Right. You feel what I'm saying? Like, come on, y'all. Like, y'all ain't about to do that to me, and I'm not gonna burn the whole world.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So the perspective of the villain is really important, because the American perspective about us is that we're villains when we're just the product of whatever the fuck y'all villain asses did it. You know what I mean? So I get looked at as a villain all the time by the women in my life, by a lot of, you know, the organizations when I decide to speak my actual truth and not go with the status quo or whatever the hell they got going on. By people who can't see me doing better than them. You know, people who want to, you know, pull me down before I got a chance to lead the damn bucket. You feel what I'm saying? And I just have to concede to the fact that people are so unhealed in their shit. That it seems like an unconscious thing to do these things now. So for somebody like me who sees that, it's in my particular interest to make sure that I'm overcompensating with the amount of love that I'm able to give. Sometimes that amount of that might make me burn out, but if I get the fuck out of here enough, you know what I mean, and go into these woods and get my meditation going, then I can come back and be good to my community. So being a neighborhood hero is being able to go through all of that, right, and still be a positive influence to the people who are growing up in the same communities, in the same neighborhoods as you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I love that coming back part, right? Because it's like, okay, you go get all these goodies, all these, you know, teachings, all these lessons, but it's like, what are you going to do when you come back?
Yeah, you feel me? You can't feel your cup. You can't fill nobody's else. You can't fill no one else's cup when your shit half full. You can, you know. It's not. All right, I'll say it like this: it's not in your best interest to fill other people's cup when your shit half full.
Right.
Overflow your shit, like overflow it, because that process right there, people can already be trying to pull you down because they see you in abundance. You feel me? I'm getting money over here, getting money over there. They gonna be so when you get all of that and you get yourself straight, you can come back into the hood and you can do it. And you know, you might need security, you might need wound, you might need to assimilate yourself so the people who are just so non-denominational that they gonna get you anyway can be moved out the way. But for the most part, you come in, you know, you go through your tribulations, you get out the hood. They say it's a cheat code to get out the hood in your 20s. I didn't necessarily do that. You know, I left like a year or so, but I feel like I left for long enough to experience something so I can come back and do what I've always been doing in the community, which is helping it out. Like, I do monthly distributions. You know, I'm buying up property and shit so I can put homeless motherfuckers in there, you know, so I can give them an opportunity at least 3 to 6 months to do their thing and get and stack their bread enough to get the fuck back out and be an appropriate member of society. Because you can't do it unless you got, you know, truth be told, a good 50,000 in the bank. So if you got anywhere less than that and you got to pay all these bills, you go be homeless for the most part out here.
Yeah.
And for those people who reach that area, right? I've been graceful enough to be a great intermediary into them getting their lives back, right? There's a caveat to that. There's a reversal to it, just like on most laws of power, right? There's a reversal to that. There's a lot of people who might go to jail or get into the foster care system and they get a lot of great resources, right? So it makes people who are in the middle, I would consider myself somebody in the middle, not rich enough to, but not poor enough to, right? Be like, shit, what I got to do to get those resources then? You know what I mean? Maybe I should hit a lick. I go to jail. I get to go to this program. I got a nice job. Boom, boom. You know, where somebody who's been through the kind of the normal way of living ain't really as resourced.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not jealous at all. Like, if you've been through that, your valleys and your lows, I get it, right? And but I also see that there's a way to benefit everybody. But in that, they have done a great job at putting certain communities against each other that are the same communities. They'll put a cookie right here, and they say, hey, that motherfucker's trying to steal your cookie. And that'll make me mad because they're like, oh, that's my cookie. Not knowing that we can break the fucking cookie in pieces.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So it's all perception and manipulation that we got to grow out of. If you're a real hero, you know, you're learning these things. You're being a student. You're being you Goku right now. You know what I mean? You're trying to learn all you need to know so you can be the most powerful Saiyan out here. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna do that by just cracking that motherfucking book open. You gonna have to fight the strongest. You gonna have to get thrown in there with the sharks. You know? And I think things like going to jail, like I got a lot of folks who just getting out of jail. Mm-hmm. Half of that community is doing great because they was already destined to be great. The other half of that community is struggling because they so fucking mad that they got caught up, right? That they can't move forward. You know what I mean? It's so sad. You see so much potential in somebody, even if they went to jail, but then they can't open that potential because the trauma is too deep. You know, versus somebody who spent 15 years in jail and right when they got out, they got 3 degrees and got a 500 CEO. I'm like, how did you do this, cuz? And you was just in jail for 15 years because they already had it in their shit. You know what I mean? They've allowed that really low to turn into a high. You feel what I'm saying? In ways that us assimilating in the hood can really we can't even think about it that way because, you know, we kind of like sheltered or suppressed into what it means to be free and shit like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a lot of ways you can go with the neighborhood hero thing. I think at the end of the day, it's about giving back when you go through struggle. Looking at struggle is not this negative cloud over your head, but something that you can use to make it to where folks may not have to go through that again, but still have the same story to tell you. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm gonna be rich soon, right? Which means I'm gonna have kids who go live a rich life, right? And then the kids that I have now, right? They were like, well, when you was first coming up and you had me, you feel what I'm saying? Like we wasn't like this. So I'm gonna have to have that conversation with them and shit. You know what I mean? You know, so I can allow them the courtesy of being from the hood, going through struggle, you know, and giving them the game so they don't have to go through that, but still have the same tenacity that I have. You know what I mean? You ain't gotta bump your head. I did. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, if you want to, you can bump your head. Right. You get a little more experience out of that, but you don't have to.
Exactly.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I completely agree, and it's like don't worry, your problems are gonna come one way or another, but they don't have to be that bad, or you know, your low doesn't have to be that low. You know, and I think that's what you're saying. It's like it's important to bring on these heroes, these people who endured a bunch of, you know, trauma, pain, whatever. Come on here, share that story. And you know what? Like I got enlightened from it. Instead of feeling that pain, I got enlightened from that pain that you felt. You know? I
wish I read more books. I'll tell you that much. I've been through a lot more experiences than books that I read. But if I'm telling myself about the lessons that I learned, I wouldn't have learned those lessons if I got it from a book, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I had to bump my head.
Or they don't hit as hard. Right?
They just don't hit as hard. Yeah. They're not as visceral.
Yeah. Because you can know something, but then you can feel something. Mm-hmm. It's different.
Absolutely. You know. So I feel like I'm definitely a neighborhood hero.
Yeah, definitely.
And when I be feeling that imposter syndrome within myself, they will fucking remind me, hey, nigga, snap out of that bullshit. You saucy. You fucking talk to Obama. You talking shit. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm saucy. All right, thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. Let me go about my day now. But they be real life treat me like I'm more famous than I need to be, and I appreciate it. But it's like the imposter syndrome don't allow me to really step into that. You feel what I'm saying? It's an interesting phenomenon for me. You know, like people tell me step into your greatness, and I do. And when it's a real deep example of that, like somebody letting me know how great I am, I can't lie. I get a little nervous. You feel what I'm saying? Like, oh, thank you. I blush. You feel what I'm saying? Like, because I know I'm this great, but then when growing up, I'm still dealing with the imposter syndrome of not having the best responses because the people that I shown, they were crabs trying to pull me down. Right. So I got to get these motherfuckers out of my head however I do it, right? So I can really step into my greatness. And I have to also, because I got kids now, teach them how to not give a damn about public opinion in ways that creates an imposter syndrome for them. Because, you know, they need everything that they need. And I could tell my daughter a million things and the motherfucker tell her and then she'll
believe that or feel that, yeah.
Like I ain't told her a million times. Yeah. But that's just an example of like that imposter syndrome that you grow with. You could be a beautiful person, but if everybody's telling you ugly, you gonna think you ugly. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? Until I guess that right person come up to you and be like, you're beautiful. And by that time, you ain't got told you was ugly so many times that you be like, oh, this is weird. Like you think that I'm beautiful. Nah, stop playing. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, absolutely.
No, I love that, man, because I've literally been tapping into that in my life where it's like when we were talking about earlier, it was like that childhood. A lot of people that grew up in the hood, a lot of people who grew up in poverty has had that, you know, whether it was from a parent, your neighbor, your friend, school itself, teachers, somebody's bringing you down when even though in the back of your mind, you know, you're great. Like you said, there's still people bringing you down. And like you said, eventually it's going to rub off. Like energy is real. Energy is currency. Like,
man, you know, pimping is pimping, you know, and you know, the idea of pimping ain't just what we see in popular shit, right? Like the way you think about it is like, you got this, I don't know, call them Caucasian, whatever the fuck you want to call them. They pimp us a lot, right? We don't know who to take that out on, right? So psychology suggests that we take it out on our kids and our women, right? Nowadays, it's been this little turnaround to where it's like now we're living in the age to where women have gained enough power to really hit us back, like on a matriarchal level. Like, there's a rise in women who can do a lot of great things, making a lot of money. But then when it comes to like the responsibilities of what it actually means to be a man, not a lot of them can handle that. And it's okay to, be gay, be a dyke, do you, right? But when it comes to the actual responsibilities of what it means to be an actual man, like you got Bruce Jenner racing in the women's Olympics, and you got, women want to be male fighters knowing damn well you can't get with them guys.
Yeah, on a physiology level,
in your so it's like we blurring the lines way too much now to where it's like a man can't be a man and a woman can't be a woman, and it can't just be that. But that's only really because a lot of times when one of these communities have power, they hold that power in such disgusting regard that can you really blame a woman for shitting on a lot of these niggas nowadays? No, because we've been pimping women for a long time because white people been pimping us and whatever, the trickle down effect. But then who's really sitting down and having a discussion about why these things exist and why we need to have healing in that? No, it's just that I've been hurt by these motherfuckers and you the next one in line, so I'm gonna hit you. And it's like tit for tat culture now. Like talk to a motherfucker who oppressed you for all this time. Don't wait until you're out of oppression, find me, and as soon as I remind you of that oppression, kill me. You feel me? Because I may not even be oppressive. You just finding a scapegoat to, for your real problem. And a lot of us have that issue, That's not just an issue with a lot of the women I see nowadays, even though that's a real big issue with a lot of the women nowadays. It's not a lot of these young ladies who've been in a world full of pimping or whatever the case may be, tip drill ass culture, whatever the case may be. And I'm not going to say they chose this life, right? I'm going to say that now that they are out of that life, you can't have your Russell Wilson, nigga. Like, Russell Wilson got his Sierra. You go stick with the futures that you've been getting. You feel what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, that's what you've been choosing. Whether you wanted to choose it or not, that's the world, So it's like some people, like, I'm a father to a young, beautiful daughter, right? I have to know that I have to be around way more than I need to be around so I can give her the notion that she's more beautiful than she thinks she is. So don't no nigga come in and swoop in and give her everything I couldn't give her and then have her doing some wild shit because of it, right? Because that's a definite possibility given the pimp ass culture we live in today. Your daddy ain't giving you this, and then I'll give you everything you want. Now she on the stroll. You feel what I'm saying? So I want to keep all my family human for as much as I can, knowing that we all got traumas. But you can only control what you can control. And if you control yourself, you can control the things around you. So my daughter loved me because I love myself, not because I love her. I love her too, but she loved me because I love myself. Like I go to the school and they treat me like a fucking celebrity at her middle school. Not because I love these kids. Kids is annoying as hell. But because they see the love I have for myself when I walk in there that not nan teacher got for themselves. You feel what I'm saying? So it's a great experience to be who I am and to be in this vessel I'm in today. And although I consider myself a neighborhood hero, there's still a lot of greatness that I gotta step into as whatever role I'm gonna play in the next 10 years of this life. Yeah, you feel what I'm saying?
I'm excited. I really am excited for what you're able to contribute. It's just like I said, man. I think these conversations are great. I know you're a speaker, you're an artist. Anything that you can think of as social justice, it kind of seems like you're touching on, and it's important, man. So, anything else you want to say before we get off? I think we touched a lot of great things, man. I'm excited to run it back, in the next 6 months or whatever, just to see, what way we both grown and stuff. But anything else you want to say before we log off?
Yeah. Thank you, appreciate you. And a lot of this stuff is, I'm creating a documentary soon. You know what I mean? I got one out right now, The Lost Element. It's not just an album; it's a documentary. And that documentary was based on real of all the community stuff that I'm doing. So I'm going to do another one in the next, I think, whether it's 24, 25. So it's going to be really important that everybody that I'm connecting with, I stay in contact with in regards to the movement, because it's something that I feel like people will people have been getting around, but I have to show for it now. You know, I can't just be like out here doing all this community work and not have nothing to show for it. So I feel like this next documentary will be what I have to show to the community to let them know that I've been doing a lot of loving on them for a minute. So now y'all gonna be a part of this process, and I'm appreciative. I can't wait to see it.
No, yeah, me too, man. I'm appreciative of even, allowing us to be a part of it. Yeah, no, we're excited. So when that comes out, we definitely gotta watch it. We'll promote it as well, and we'll come back to kind of talk a little bit and dissect and stuff. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited. But yeah, man, I appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
Neighborhood Heroes, man. Let's get it. Yee.